Hello, everyone. My name is Conrad on behalf of Camera Stuff. Firstly, I do apologize for the postponement. Had some bad internet on my side, so we saw it best just to postpone an extra half an hour or so. So hopefully those that wanted to join 6 p.m. are still with us. But yeah, so today in the Limelight, we are joined by Siobhan. She is a professional portrait and conceptual photographer, and we're going to have a bit of a discussion with her. So hello, Siobhan. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm fine. How are you?
I'm doing fantastically well. All right, so it's a big pleasure. Now, so as mentioned, we're going to kind of tap into your head and we're going to look into your portfolio as well, just to see how you go about your professional photography. So anyone there in Facebook or YouTube land, you're welcome to ask your comments as well, your questions, and do drop them in the comment section. And I'm pretty certain Siobhan will like hearing all of your questions as well. So I think we have a good audience already. So we're just going to get started.
All right.
Okay. So as a reminder, if you have questions out there, please do ask them in the comment section. In the meantime, if you are watching, please introduce yourself. Tell us where you're from. So we're just going to start from our side.
From my side.
So. Yes, from our side. So you can tell us about yourself. You can give us a bit of introduction. Who are you?
Okay.
And
so
tell us
my
a
name
little
is
bit about your
Siobhan.
photography.
I'm a 24-year-old portrait photographer. I'm living in Vanderbijl Park. So for those of you who don't know where that is, it's at the southern tip of Gauteng on the border of the Free State. And yes, I have my own portrait studio, which is now two and a half years old, or 3.
Nice.
2 or 3. I don't know. I started it in COVID, so it feels like yesterday that it all started.
Yeah, COVID robbed a couple of years from us, so time is not but it's interesting that you started during COVID. So how was that introduction into studio photography, considering the pandemic kind of matching you as far as timing was concerned?
So the plan for me in 2020 was I just finished university. And I wanted to do full-time wedding photography, but obviously COVID. So that was all canceled. So my friend, Palesa, she needed some studio shots. And I was like, well, I don't have a studio, but we could DIY something. And so, yeah, that basically kicked off everything. It was very interesting in the beginning because obviously you had to still do all the masks and the social distancing and sanitizing. But it went really, really well. I was very surprised at the outcome. I had made, because I decided to go full-time and charge and everything, I made more money in the 6 months than what I did for the full year previously. So for me, it was just such an eye-opener that my portraits could actually provide me with a full-time income.
Oh, so, yeah. That's incredible.
Thank you.
So prior to that, how did you get into photography? Like what kicked it off?
So it was, I think it was like mid-2014. We were in Cape Town on a family holiday and my dad had his Canon 350D and I basically stole it from him for most of the holiday and was taking photos of everything. And I was like, oh, this is so much fun. Came back from holiday and basically asked my brother to model for me and my best friends. And my cats were, they a big part of it. And yeah, that's basically where it started. Then I got into going to Insta Meets. So for anyone who doesn't know what an Insta Meet is, it's basically an Instagram meetup with photographers and models. So from about 2015 to 2017 was like a very big period in that specific community. It's died down a little bit now, but yeah, that's basically where I kicked it all off. Really got into portraiture, loved just being able to walk around, for example, Joburg CBD with my camera with a bunch of photographers and models. It was amazing. And so, yeah, then obviously everyone just started asking me to shoot things like matric farewells, graduations, and so forth. And yeah, that's about it.
Now, you mentioned a Canon 350. That was also one of my first cameras as well.
Really? Oh, my word.
Got a few flashbacks when you mentioned the Canon 350. That with the kit lens and whatnot. It is, eh? Quite a robust little camera.
Indeed.
All right. So if you're watching from a Facebook group, if you drop a comment, because of StreamYard's privacy policies, we can't see your name. So if you comment from a Facebook group, just tell us your name as well. Otherwise, we are going to see you as Facebook user. So good evening from Facebook user. So Facebook user, if you want to drop us your name as well, we can get a good idea as to who we're talking to. All right, so we're going to continue our questions. Just find myself here. All right, so you're quite active on social media. How has that changed the landscape of professional photography, and do you have any tips for aspiring photographers?
So yes, I basically grew up with social media. I think my first couple of years on social media I was around 12. So I'm 24 now, so it's a good portion of my life. It's kind of sad when I think about it, but anyway. So I was on Instagram from basically when it started, and it was mostly for photographers in the beginning, sharing a lot of their work. And, now we're moving more into a video content era, which I think photographers find themselves in a very tricky spot. Because, we feel obliged to now keep up to date with the algorithms, and the algorithms are all video content. So like now we have to do basically little slideshows of our work. And also, when you post a photo, it doesn't get the reach that it used to, which I think is quite disheartening for a lot of people. I think a lot of, we say like, oh, we mustn't base our worth on likes and reach and whatever, but it is very disheartening when you see a bunch of people see your photo but don't engage with it. So yeah, for me, it's been quite tricky trying to navigate how I can work around that. And then in terms of aspiring photographers of social media, I'd say don't chase the likes. Hide your likes on Instagram if you can. Utilize the algorithms to your advantage. So that's why I do use Reels. I do more video content because obviously I need it, or else I'm not found, I'm not seen. So yeah, I think it's going to be very interesting in the future to see where we go, especially with Instagram going more towards TikTok's platform. I actually watched a video on YouTube the other day it was from Peter McKinnon. And he said he's moved a lot of his work to Vero. So for people who don't know what Vero is, it's basically a social media platform that has no algorithms, no ads. It became very big in like 2018, 2019. And then it died down. And now I think a lot of photographers are moving there more to just share their creativity, to be more inspired. But if you want to be a photographer, and run a business, you need to unfortunately be present on all these platforms, or else, it's the best way to connect with potential customers. So,
from my side, when I heard about the algorithm change that Instagram is steering towards, as you mentioned, the TikTok type, it was just now I need to do videos on top of what I'm doing already. So it was a bit quite disheartening, as you mentioned. But to some, it is an opportunity to get ahead of the curve as well. So it is there to be taken advantage of, certainly.
Absolutely. And I also think it encourages a lot of people to try out videography. Most of our cameras have that option, and we usually never utilize it. I know, like, before all of this happened, I would not really utilize it. And now when I have a client over, I'm more inclined to take a quick, short little video on my camera so that I can perhaps use it in a reel or for some kind of content. So yeah, it's very interesting to see where we will go from here.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I'm going to just access some of your reels here. I'm just going to play a couple just to show more or less how you go about it. So I'm going to switch the audio off. I don't want to get flagged for copyright and whatnot. All right, so it's basically the entire photo shoot here. Just display all the images in a slideshow format. So all things considered, not hideously difficult, but I see some of the behind the scenes stuff here as well.
Yeah, I enjoy doing vlog content. If you follow my personal TikTok, you'll see I do a lot of vlogging.
So I wanted to ask a question about that. So with the reels and whatnot and kind of gaining a following on social media, how useful is it to kind of allow people into your somewhat of a personal life? So you kind of put yourself out there. In this reel, we see kind of your morning routine and whatnot. So we get to see you as a person as well. Now, how helpful is that in terms of branding and kind of introducing yourself to potential customers as well?
I think, you know, booking a photo shoot is a very intimidating process, especially when you don't really know the person that you're booking with. For me, you know, putting my face on my brand has definitely helped a lot. I mean, the hair is obviously a very prominent feature of myself. So a lot of people will remember me, but I think it also just helps show people that I'm a normal person as well. You know, I have a normal life. These are, you know, as you can see from a lot of my work, they're very normal people. So I think by showing that, it just, I don't know, I think it bridges us. You know, it's not an unreachable goal for a lot of people. And I think, you know, there's a fine line between sharing too much of yourself, because, you know, you obviously don't want to overload people with your life and everything. But I think it's also, especially for younger and aspiring photographers, it's nice to see someone who shows their journey and shows that not everything goes perfectly all the time. So yeah.
Yeah, so something I see here is that, do you have an assistant that kind of captures the behind the scenes and whatnot? Because that is something I struggle with, because I try to do the reels and I promise myself, okay, I'm going to capture the behind the scenes. I'm going to, you know, show my setup, etc. Then a photo shoot starts and it just goes out of my head, right? I just don't remember to do anything like that. So do you have an assistant, and would you recommend other people to have that second person around to capture the behind the scenes stuff?
So I had an assistant last year and she unfortunately moved away. So I lost her. But like, if you have a makeup artist who's there, you can ask her to take some behind the scenes. Once a year, I get a videographer, professional videographer in to film my like full shoots basically. And then he edits it into a video. And then I basically just take clips from that to create the beginning of reels and then use it for something else. Also setting your phone up on a tripod, or if your client's friend is there perhaps taking videos, ask them to send it through to you. You know, if you have a significant other who's always around during your shoots, ask them to help out. But definitely tripods are a lot of fun to set up. And yeah, I would really recommend everyone doing like a branding video for the year to show people the full experience, how it is working with you.
All right, yeah. Plenty of good advice there. I like the one about the makeup artist. So if the makeup artist isn't busy, just give it a camera. She can capture some of the stuff behind the scenes as well.
For sure.
So in terms of Instagram Reels, how do you find inspiration for it? Because obviously it can't be too generic, you know. It has to have some flavor to it. So, so what advice do you have?
You can do trends, but if you're going to do trends, you need to hop on it very early, because you know, when you watch one trend and it shows the whole time over, because that's how the algorithm works. If you like something very similar, it's going to show that over and over. So you don't want to constantly do trends. So for me, like if I listen to a lot of music throughout the day and I'm like, oh, that would actually be so cool to sync a bunch of photos on top. Or if I'm like, okay, I haven't posted video content in a very long time, I need to now think of something. So I'll scroll through, take a bunch of inspiration from people, and then see like, okay, how can I make it my own? I really enjoy doing the behind the scenes and then showing like the final photos. I think those are a lot of fun for people to see. And yeah, like don't overthink it too much, but also don't do stupid content either too much. Like I enjoy comedy content because again, I want to show my personality, but I wouldn't only do it.
Yes. So every now and then. So 1 out of 5, 1 out of 10, you know, whatever it needs to be.
For sure.
In terms of your slideshows, what program do you use to edit them?
CapCuts.
Okay.
Yeah. So I believe TikTok bought CapCut or something like that. Because now if you're in TikTok and you're editing your video, it basically looks like that app. So I think they work together. But now CapCut was only on mobile, but now it's on computer. So one of the most recent reels that I posted, I edited that in like 20 minutes on my computer. And it's basically Premiere Pro, but free and way more user-friendly. It's an amazing program, definitely. You could also utilize, if you're scrolling through Instagram Reels, you'll see on some videos it says use template. Then you can basically just insert your content into that template and it makes it for you.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Now, something my old man self struggled with is to edit on mobile. So hopefully if there are some desktop ones available too. All right. So what we are going to do now is we're going to look at some of your photos and we're going to kind of describe the process, etc., what went into them, what inspired you, etc. So whatever you want to talk about regarding any of these images, the floor's basically yours. So photo number 1.
So this is what basically kicked off my studio career. This is Palesa, the girl I was talking about, who needed some portraits for Miss South Africa that she was entering to. And I didn't have any lights yet. I had my little speed lights, but I was like, okay, no, I can't use that because it's going to look weird. So it was natural light. And behind her is it's a bed frame that I had. And I clipped a curtain super tight to it and positioned her, by the window. And this is still very early stages of where I got into retouching. I was a lot more confident here with retouching than previous photos. But there's definitely things that I would chop and change now. But I love everything about it. I think it's so beautiful, so elegant, very natural. And yeah, it's just a very important photo in my career for sure.
Now, something I've noticed, a theme throughout your portfolio is that don't take this wrong way, it's very uncomplicated lighting. So it's not like 3, 4, 5 lights with gels and very complicated stuff. So it's very natural looking with a 1 light, 2 light setups, which look remarkable. There is something attractive about the natural looking lighting plans.
Yeah,
that's something you tend to continue with.
Yes, for sure. My space isn't small. It's by no means small, but it's also not massive. Because I usually have quite a few people in the studio at a time, so I can't go in and add a bunch of different lighting setups. I actually have a very funny story. I bought the parabolic softbox from you guys, the P120H, and in my head I was like, 120 is not that big, 120 centimeters. And then I ordered it and I'm putting it together and it's like,
yes.
So yeah,
it's a bit of a bathtub, a jacuzzi.
Yeah. And I have these beautiful large doors which lets so much natural light in. It's beautiful. So yeah, I don't really need to overcomplicate my setup. I've never been someone who's very technical with photography. I've never, yes, I keep up to date with, what's new, what's cool and that, but I've never really pursued purchasing a lot of the things. I've used the same lens. I use a Sigma 35mm 1.4 art for all of my work. It's pretty much, I've had it since 2018. So I'm very bland when it comes to that stuff.
Well, it's not bland whatsoever. As I said, there is something quite attractive and almost intuitive about using 1 or 2 lights, because our brains are used to that. Only having 1 light source, be it the sun or the ceiling lamp or whatever. So if you can play within that domain, you can create some magic with it. So there is something quite magical about all of your work here.
Thank you.
All right, so let's have a look at this image.
So I chose this photo because I really loved the posing that we did. This is Anka, and we were shooting her album art cover for a single that she was releasing. And she also has this gorgeous curly hair, which I absolutely loved. It was way more bushy than mine. And I wanted a wooden ladder for the longest time. and I was looking everywhere to try to find a wooden ladder as a prop. And I couldn't find one. And then I finally found one on Facebook Marketplace for about 200 Rand. And I was so happy.
Oh, wow.
And it's such a fun posing tool because you can kind of have people lean on it and it creates these beautiful triangles and it really helps shape the body. And she just kind of looks like a Greek goddess. I just love how everything looks in this photo. Again, there's a few things I would change now when I look at it, but other than that, also just like I wanted to add in flowers and props, but I didn't want to add too much in. And the more and more I do photography, the more I take out of the photos. Before I thought I needed to add so many different props and things, and you'll see now most of my work really just focuses on the person. Because at the end of the day, that's why they're there. That's why they're in front of my camera. It's for them. So throwing in a bunch of stuff is just irrelevant, really. So yeah, that's basically why I really love that photo. I think I've balanced it very well.
That's a very good point. You know, creativity is not only about what you put in. Creativity is also about what you leave out.
Absolutely.
So I think that is something that we all learn over time. Now, initially, it's about how much stuff you can add in. Add everything in, and eventually you start taking out and out and out until you're left with the essentials, in a manner of speaking.
I think there's a quote from Coco Chanel, and she says, "The last accessory you put on is what you should take off." Something like that. So
I like that.
For aspiring photographers is if it looks like there's too much in the photo, there's probably too much in the photo. Try to take something out and see.
That's just something I wanted to say about this photo. I love the do-it-yourself projects as well. So having the bed sheets and stretching it out to look like a backdrop. I mean, if it works, it works, and it looks for part here.
Yeah,
so don't always need the professional stuff.
No, for sure. And I've painted so many backdrops myself as well. So also if you're starting out, DIYing is the way to go for sure.
And also quite lucky to get this ladder for 200 Rand. People, when they know it's an antique, they will add a lot of cost to it, because it's an antique.
Absolutely.
Right. So this image.
So this photo is with Zanele, and she wanted to really celebrate herself and her body. And we were trying to figure out a pose with a specific outfit that was more vulnerable, but it still shows that it's a very strong image. I love the lights and the black backdrop. It was actually one of the first times I rolled that backdrop out because I hate when my backdrops get dirty. So I bought it's like vinyl flooring from Builder's Warehouse, which clients usually stand on, and then the backdrops rolled just behind, so they don't stand on it. So it was very special that she got it to be rolled out. And I really love the contrast in this photo. Just like the white two-piece as well as with the nail polish and the makeup. Again, it's a very simple pose. It's retouched, but I don't think I went overboard. And I try not to go too overboard with the retouching. A lot of people face tuning and face apps and whatever, you can take away all that texture, but I like to have texture. You still need to look like you in my photos, basically. And I think that's why I just really love this photo.
Now, you mentioned the dirty backdrops. When you look at my personal work, it's 99% three-quarters or portraits, and it's for that exact reason. I don't do full-length body shots because I don't want to clean backdrops at all.
I know, and then you've got to cut it the whole time.
Yes, with the paper backdrops, absolutely, yeah. So on topic here, so something I mentioned, I'm just going to skip ahead to one of our later questions. So what do you do to get the best out of your models? So in terms of making them feel comfortable, getting natural poses, etc.
Okay, so for me, I always play music during a shoot. I will ask the client beforehand, who is their favorite artist to listen to. And then I will go into Apple Music. I'll find, they have like the Essentials album or playlist or whatever, and play their favorite music. And you instantly see the clients relax. And they're like, oh, you thought of me. That's why you asked it. And they're always so surprised. So that's definitely a really good tip. Get one of those small little JBL speakers if you're out and about, even on a location shoot, you can take a speaker with. And then also just not being afraid to move the models, obviously with their permission. But if you see something looks bad, don't be afraid to ask to move them in a specific way. And that's, in the beginning, it's quite intimidating. I was so shy in the beginning asking people to move. But it's a muscle memory. So the more you do it, the better you get at it. And then you can obviously always also mimic the posing. So you'll see me on the floor a lot of the time with the model, trying to get the same pose. And also you can think, so there's a TikToker, his name is David Sa, and he pointed out that there's 7 posing points on the body. So it's basically where everything can kind of turn. So your neck, your shoulders, your hips, your elbows, your wrists, your knees, as well as your feet. So, for example, for me, sitting like this for a photo is very bland, versus if I had to use my elbow, bring it forward, maybe bring my hand like this or something like this, then it's more interesting. So using those, the different posing points can look more natural. A lot of people, they overthink how to use the hands in the photos, and that's when you see photos like this and it looks awkward. So relax. If the hands look awkward, move them away. And for women, you're obviously going to use more of those posing points because you want to, women want to look their best in their photos, very curvaceous. So that's when you really want to utilize more of those posing points. While with men, it's very blocky with posing. It's very square. So that's a good tip for people. It's, just think about where the body naturally can move and you'll get good poses.
It's good advice to male photographers as well. You mentioned mimic poses. That's an instant icebreaker. So as a big burly man, if you pull out the quote unquote classical feminine poses, instant icebreaker.
Yeah. Beautiful. And also talking to the model the whole time. I'm always saying, like, that looks great, let's do more of that. Okay, maybe what if we tried this rather? So constantly communicating, because if you're not saying anything to the model, she's going to think, she or he will think that they're doing something wrong. So constant communication is very important. And also just having a normal conversation with them during the shoots, ask them about their life, their interests, those kinds of things, and you'll see them become more and more comfortable. So
I don't know if you also do the following. So if you have multiple wardrobes, you kind of start off with the worst one and you gradually build up to the best one. Because initially when people are, a little bit shy, and also from your side, maybe a little bit shy as well. So the initial 20 minutes may not be the best. So you kind of start off with the worst wardrobe and kind of build up to the best one.
I also like to, it depends on the person as well, because I work with a lot of different personalities. So when they come through the door, if they're very shy and introverted, then we usually start with something more, introverted, with them sitting and then build it up. And I often actually ask them to wear their favorite outfit first for a boost of confidence. Okay. But it really depends, because sometimes I have a lot of girls come in with suitcases. I'm talking like 2 big suitcases, and they're like, I brought my whole wardrobe. So, it depends.
It depends, yeah. Okay, so Facebook user number 1 was Kenan. Hello, Kenan. Hope you're doing fantastically well. Lynn, hello, or Ian. All right, so welcome. And Jay is also in the building. Hello, Jay.
Hi, Jay.
All right, so let's continue our slideshow here.
Okay, so this is with my one client in Thabiseng. This was a very big shoot. She wanted to go all out, so she booked my biggest package, my makeup artist and everything. And I had a vision for this specific photo, and I'm sure you'll show the behind the scenes shortly, but I really wanted movement in the photo, and it took us quite a few times to try and get that specific photo. And I love the outfit that she chose, and like the black on black. I thought it just looked so cool. So yeah, the post processing on this image was so difficult because I really wanted something very smooth, quite flat and matted. But when in person, it was super ripply and it looks chaotic on the raw image. So yeah, it was a lot of work trying to edit that specific photo.
Yeah, I forgot the official term, the homogeneous colors or analogous colors. Yeah, so black from start to the back. Yeah, it's very pleasing on the eye, very comforting on the eye.
And also the way the light kind of lit up the I think leather, it looks so cool.
Yeah, the shininess of the wardrobe versus the mattness of the background. So you still have that bit of contrast still. All right.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun to look at.
Let me just quickly apologize. So it was Lynn, not Ian. Sorry, Lynn. All right. So you mentioned behind the scenes.
Yeah. So that's raw at the top. So yeah, I had to really use my Photoshop skills on that one.
So that was the black side of the PVC, if I'm correct.
Yeah, so those are the black seamless paper backdrops from you guys.
Oh, okay. All right.
And I bought the wall mounts because, you know, it's mostly just me, and putting them up the whole time, it's very annoying. So I was like, okay, no, I need a wall mount. But with the way that the light comes in on my studio, it usually shows the ripples on the paper. So to try, like, the editing on them gets a bit annoying. But I've finally found the proper way to edit them so it doesn't look patchy almost. And yeah, just the extending of everything on Photoshop was a lot of work. I think that photo took me like an hour and a half to edit.
Oh, gosh. Our results are worth it.
Oh, yeah, no, it's one of my favorites for sure.
All right, so to some outdoor photography now.
Yes, so this is with my client, Cindy. This was in winter last year, and she wanted mist in her photo shoot. So we woke up at about 5 a.m. to go to the river, and it was like -10 outside. I look like an Eskimo. There's actually a behind the scenes on my Instagram of this. And it was also for an album cover for, I think it was her album was very ethereal, very fairy-like, very dreamy. And the sun was so beautiful, and it was beautiful pink skies. The sky is photoshopped in on that one, but the sky was quite pink, but it didn't really pick up on camera. And then I had my boyfriend on the one side blowing all these little bubbles, and then her husband on the other side blowing bubbles. And I love the way that it just all fell on the grass around her. It looked so amazing. And the way that the sun lit them up, it's such a gorgeous image. And all the pinks and stunning.
I was about to ask who was dedicated bubble blower. Nice to have the significant others around to do all of this.
All right. So yeah, no, it was a lot of fun.
So a change of pace here.
Yes, so this was for my client's 21st birthday. You'll have to forgive me. I can't remember what the traditional ceremony is called, but she is Zulu. And so for her 21st birthday, they do this kind of celebration. And it was such a nice day because it had been raining, and it was very dramatic. The skies were so dramatic. And they walked down the street and they were dancing, and then they came walking back. And I was in the front. I was basically crawling backwards with like this large group of people coming towards me. And I just love how powerful she looks in this photo. She was so happy on this day. This whole shoot was absolutely incredible. I feel so privileged to be able to capture, traditional ceremonies, and, it's just so great to be able to experience this in our country. And I always try to encourage photographers to diversify their portfolio so that they can experience these things. And yeah, no, it was absolutely incredible. And I loved it in black and white. In color, that it also looks amazing because their clothing is very colorful. But for this specific photo, I really, really love it in black and white.
All right. So in terms of natural light versus flash, like, do you get into those arguments and debates, or is it just a, whatever is necessary on a day type of thing for you?
So all of my outdoor stuff is natural light. The only time I use flash would be in my studio. And even then, not always. But if it's on, so my backdrops are on one wall and the light is usually quite harsh. So I need lights on the left to bounce back to combat the natural light so it looks more even. Obviously, depending on the look I'm going for and so forth. But yes, when I'm outdoors, I don't use flash. I am still experimenting with it. I will not lie. Being self-taught, it gets tricky. And especially with this being my full-time job, I don't always get the chance to go out and practice these things. I've recently, though, started taking my flash out on outdoor shoots, so I'm getting there, but it's not there yet. But I've really learned how to work in all kinds of lighting. I remember when I first started photography, I would only shoot like after 4 p.m. golden hour. That was the only time I would ever shoot, because I'd be petrified to shoot any other time of the day. And then I was like, no, you know what? You need to learn how to shoot at all times of the day. And so I did. And now, if I do a shoot at 10 a.m., 12 p.m., 1 p.m., I can do it and I can make it look good. So it's just about learning how to work with the lights, learning your camera, how far you can push it so that it still looks good, and also not struggle in editing with lighting.
Yeah, absolutely. It's learning what you get from the natural conditions and making it work for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so natural light, if you're willing to wake up 5 a.m. in the morning, you're going to get some good lights.
Yeah, no, it's beautiful, but it's not always doable.
Okay, so, I think this is my favorite one. So tell us about this one.
So this was in 2019, I believe, with my one client, Kyle, and he wanted to shoot something editorial. And we were very inspired by Vogue, and we had a lot of different inspiration to pull from. And he was like, "Yo, I really want to do something with a sheet on my head." I looked at him and I'm like, he's like, "Yo, so I look like the wind and the clouds." And I was like, okay, I hear you. I see where we're going with this. And so we went to this beautiful open field close to the river. And, we started playing with the sheets and I got this shot and I absolutely loved it. I really love the contrast. I love his pose and everything. It's so beautiful. And I posted it on Pinterest and it's gone viral multiple times. It was a couple 100,000 views. And the other day, someone actually recreated it in America and tagged me. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. So it was very cool. So yeah, again, it's still a very simple photo. There's not much going on in it. I think there was a tree on the right that I photoshopped out because I only wanted sky, but I can't remember. But yeah, I love the contrast and everything.
All right. So who was
it was a lot of fun.
Who was dedicated fabric flipper here?
He was, surprisingly. It was only us on the shoots, and he had his arm in. He was
just waving it about. Nice.
Yeah. So yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I love the muted colors here.
Yeah, after that, I loved just taking a stool out into a field with like just a person. It's a really nice landscape. Also, this was midday, but it was quite cloudy, as you can see. So the lighting was very beautiful.
All things coming together quite perfectly here. As I said, my favorite one.
Thank you.
All right. Tell us a little bit about this one.
Okay, so I really love color, clearly. And we had access to this rooftop in Sandton. And this is there on the left, you'll see Radisson Blue, and that's the Old Mutual building in the background. And there was a crazy storm outside afterwards. There was lightning in the background, and the sky lit up this bright orange. And because we had been shooting in the afternoon, and I was like, I just want to carry on shooting a little bit longer so that we get the beautiful city lights. And also for this shoot was my first time shooting on full frame. My boyfriend's dad's friend had a 5D Mark III. So I put my Sigma on and I was like, wow! It was incredible. I loved it. And I was like, I want a 5D after this. And it created the most beautiful, like with the 35 mil, like the landscape on it is incredible. And the model, Rebecca, she did such a good job. I love this photo. It's one of my favorites. It's been one of my favorites for many years. And I think it'll probably always be one of my favorites for sure.
All right, a couple of questions from my side. So if you don't mind telling us what gear you have now, and a follow-up question is, if you had, let's say, 200,000 Rand, what would you buy next?
Okay, so I currently have a Sigma 35mm 1.4 Art. That's my main lens. My other lens is just the standard 50mm 1.8 from Canon, which I use now and again. And then my body is a Canon 5DS2. Yes. I wanted a Mark IV, but the 5DS2 was the last one in the country at the time. And I got about 10,000 Rand off of it. So I was like, well, I will stick with this for now. And yeah, that's pretty much like the gear that I use. In terms of lighting, I still use speed lights. I was going to get some Godox ones, but this year I've dedicated to upgrading my editing setup instead, which I've just finished. So I'm very happy about that. Nice. So I have two Young Newer flashes, which are really great for beginners. They're super powerful. You know, they're diverse. So I love them. I think they're great. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I really don't go overboard with my gear. You know, there was this funny meme with like a photographer with this big backpack. You know, you get some people who have everything, every single lens. Yeah, no, that's not me.
Now, something I've always taught myself is, do I really need that, or should I remind myself that there is a 14-year-old out there somewhere with cheaper camera gear and lenses than what I do, but are taking 10 times better photos than I am?
Yeah. When I first started my studio journey, I thought I needed all these different modifiers, and I have so many. I've got all these umbrellas and, you know, soft boxes and stuff, but I just use, it's a Godox Octabox, I believe. I think it's that one. And that's kind of become my main one now, and I use it for everything. Oh, and the reflector from Godox, the big one. Yeah. That thing is great. I love that thing. Other than that, that's pretty much it. So, you know, for anyone who wants to start out and, you know, you see someone with a lot of gear, you don't need a lot of gear. I'd say get a prime lens and you're good to go, honestly.
Now, typically with the people with a lot of gear, they eventually go back to just a handful of gear.
I think especially when you're shooting a lot on location, it's very heavy. Yes. It's insane trying to carry all of that stuff. And it's just, you know, if you start insuring a lot of your gear, it gets expensive. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, having a lot of gear also is a bit of a detriment. Kind of slows you down, and you're not always going to do what you plan on doing, or Now, you may have had a pipeline of ideas on a day, but just having too much stuff to carry around, you're not going to get to all of that. And you feel frustrated afterwards, but time just kind of took you over.
And then your back hurts because your backpack was so heavy.
Yes. All right. So this is our last one, I believe. So nice colors again.
Thank you. So this was this year. We had a carnival at the mall, and I just finished watching a TV show called Euphoria. A bit controversial for a few, but they use a lot of like bright colors, and the cinematography on it's extremely beautiful. So my client Chantal, I messaged her and I said, listen, I have this vision with the carnival, let's do it. And she was so excited, and she got her little Euphoria outfit, and she was very excited. And it was amazing because I didn't use any external flashes, off-camera flashes or anything. I used there was a spotlight on her for that specific photo. And it was just so nice being able to use all of the carnival lights versus, studio lights or sun, It's a challenge because I'm like, is it in focus? I'm looking at it and I'm like, I think it's in focus. I'm pretty sure it's in focus, but you only really know when you put it on your screen.
So that will take 100 shots and hopefully
yes.
focus.
And I love the colors on this. It's such a fun concept to shoot, and I think if I have a carnival come to my town again, I am definitely doing it again for sure. So yeah.
All right. So that's it for our slideshow. So for our audiences out there, you got a good impression as to what Siobhan gets up to, what her photos look like. So if you want to see more, allow me to drop your socials in the comment section. Let me just do that.
Thank you.
Instagram first, and now Facebook. So please do follow her if you want to see more. All right, so we're going to get on with some other questions here as well. So just as a reminder, if you're still watching, we still have a good audience going. So if you have any questions, please do ask her in the comment section, and we'll tackle them as we go along. So another question from my side. How do you get yourself in the quote-unquote zone? In other words, to get the best out of yourself.
Is this in terms of creativity or just like...
Yes, I think creativity. Let's tackle it from that angle.
Okay. So I try to find inspiration from everything around me. I listen to a very a vast range of music. Music's very influential for me, as well as just if I see a spot of lights, I'm like, oh, that would make the most beautiful photo. There's actually a spot on my road that I always drive past, and at sunset, it's got this beautiful golden light coming through. I'm always like, I need to shoot there. I need to shoot there. And I still haven't done it. So I need to do it. And I love nature. I love plants. If you know me, I have about 60 houseplants. So I really pull inspiration and creativity from everything. I think the nice thing about becoming a full-time photographer is you get to live in that constant state of creativity. But the downside to that is it does become quite draining, because I feel like I constantly have to innovate for my clients, and I want to give them the best. So, I definitely have to take the time out to really recuperate and build that creativity again. And I'm actually quite an introverted person. I'm like half. So I have to, be on my own and really try, like I said, rebuild that creativity, and just looking at photos from other photographers, analyzing their lighting and just like what they're doing. You interviewed Ashley not so long ago, and Taryn, and their work is absolutely incredible. I have no idea where they bring that creativity from, but it's amazing. And for me, like, that's a great place to pull inspiration from. So yeah, that's kind of like how I would say I get creativity out of me. I don't know. It's kind of like it's a part of my being. I'm a very creative person, always have been. My mom is a very creative person, so I guess that's where I get it from.
Now, creativity is a bit of a curse because we like everything and hate everything at the same time. Exactly. So just kind of have to run with it.
And yeah, also, you know, I had to come to terms with I have to create content for myself and work for myself, and I don't always need to share it with the world. I don't share a lot of the work that I post, solely because I forget to post, I'll be honest. But there was a stage in 2018 and 2019 where I felt that I had to go on photo shoots with models just to create content for social media. And it was absolutely draining. It was horrible. So, you know, especially now that I'm full-time, you know, I'm doing like 2 to 4 shoots a week. I don't really have time to do my own personal shoots, and I maybe do 1 or 2 a year. So for me, those are very special, and I like to go full out for those. So yeah, you know, it's a balancing act, and I'm still trying to work that out. But I think maintaining a healthy lifestyle, also, you know, treating my business as a business is important. You know, at 5 p.m., I'm out of my office. I'm not responding to messages from clients. I recently got a work phone, which was a godsend. Because, you know, it's easy to just get caught up in it, but then it's very draining on a person as well. And I'm trying to also cut out quite a bit of social media, because I feel like that also takes a lot of, because I actually made a reel today on imposter syndrome. You know, I feel like, oh, why am I here? Like, look at this person. It's incredible, you know? So yeah, it's a balancing act. And I think it'll be an ongoing thing that I need to learn how to deal with. So yeah.
A couple of good points you brought up. Stuff I haven't really considered. You know, doing shoots for yourself, not necessarily needing to put it out there the whole time. And I also think having your business times as well, getting off the phone at a certain time, not answering comments and stuff like that. Yeah, personal me time is still very, very vital.
For sure.
All right. Here we got a question. 4 shoots a week. How draining is editing for that?
So it depends. At the moment, it's been like that because of it's matric farewell season. And I always have like, so for me, winter months are very quiet. I don't know why. I've come to terms with that. And then as soon as the weather warms up, everyone wants to do a shoot. So I work on a 2-week cycle with my shoots. I try to book people 2 weeks ahead. And then I'll do, so my clients can wait up to 2 weeks for their photos. It depends. Literally depends on the schedule. I give myself that time. It does get draining. I have actually met an editor, so I plan on working with her next year to help out a little bit. But yeah, you know, like I said, it's my full time. So in the day I edit. It's like my desk job, basically. And yeah, like my shoots are quite short. I do 30-minute sessions and 60-minute sessions. I don't do any more than that unless it's obviously an event. I do weddings now and again, but I do maybe like 10 weddings a year. So I'm not one of those that does a wedding every single year, every single weekend. So yeah, it does get tiring, but it's not, I feel like I'm managing fine at the moment. So again, it depends on your workload and how much you can take on, because everyone's different. I edit quite fast. My computer is very fast. So I can, you know, push out a lot of shoots in a week, depending on my self-discipline as well. So yeah, I think it just depends on each person.
All right. So, question from my side. What has been the best and worst photographic advice you've ever been given?
So the best would be from my friend Lo Lemma. In 2016, I asked him to critique my Instagram feed, and I was still shooting only outdoors. And this is for all the outdoors people, is to watch your horizons when you're shooting, especially like if the horizon is cutting through the person's head, it looks a bit odd. So try lower your camera so that it rather cuts maybe further down, ideally maybe by the knee, or shoot above the horizon line. And then also when you're posting on Instagram, you want to try and line up, okay, it's if you're very pedantic about your feed and how the overall aesthetic looks.
Mm-hmm.
And it's basically trying to line up the horizons on the photo. So if you've got 3 blocks, you know, your 3 posts, you want it to do that. You want to make a line. You don't want one horizon to be up here, one down here, one over there. You don't want it to be all over the place. You want it to kind of make one line. So that's, you know, now I'm always looking out for my horizon lines, and that's one of the things. And then worst photographic advice would be that the only way to make money from photography would be to be a wedding photographer. That's what I believed. I believed that I had to become a wedding photographer to make a full-time income. And you don't. You don't have to be. But I have a lot of respect for wedding photographers.
Yes.
You know, the work that they put in is insane. I have a friend who shoots every weekend for weddings. She travels all over the country. She's incredible at what she does, but she loves it. Personally, I feel like I have a hangover for 3 days after a wedding. So I mean, I try not to.
Good way of putting it, yes.
But yes, you know, there's plenty of ways to make money as a photographer. You've got to think outside of the box, and you also have to believe in your work and your worth. People pay, and I didn't think I would ever say that because I used to charge 300 Rand for an hour. And if you are there, you need to push your prices up, but baby steps, you know. And yeah, you know, like it's really just, you know, it's a self-confidence kind of thing, and it takes time, and it's very uncomfortable when you do get there, when you're charging people and, you know, asking for money. But at the same time, you know, as a photographer, you lose your weekends most of the time. You know, I shoot mostly, well, I only shoot on Saturdays. I don't shoot on Sundays. But yeah, you lose your weekend. I have to work. I have to make a living. So that's why I charge what I charge for my photos. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, where do you see yourself in 10 years' time?
Hopefully, I have a big warehouse. That would be my dream as my studio. I'd love like a warehouse with beautiful windows and light coming through, with a team. So I've got my makeup artist, and I told her she's with me for life. We work so well together. But yeah, I'd love to have some editors, photographers that work with me, and I would love to have my educational platform up and going. I've been wanting to do workshops for the longest time, but I keep saying no, but I think I really need to do it. So yeah, I think that's where I would see myself. I don't know if I'd still be here in the Vaal, maybe in Cape Town. I don't know. I feel like that's every South African's dream, is to go to Cape Town at some point. So I'm very jealous. But yeah, you know, I try not to think too far ahead either, you know.
Now, the warehouse idea is a good one.
Sorry?
The warehouse idea is a very good one. Everything you need just being in hand and not packed away in little boxes that you get in there.
It would be so great. And having multiple backdrop setups everywhere. And just walk from one area to the next. Amazing.
Certain areas as well. So you have props for this dedicated area and props for that dedicated area. Yeah, it's always been a dream of mine as well. This idea of unpacking and packing stuff the whole time. I just want a big warehouse where everything is set up already.
Okay, cool. So if I need a warehouse partner, I'll ask you.
Okay, perfect. All right. So that's the end of our, what you can call, photographic questions. So we still have a big crowd. So please do ask your questions. So in the comment section, drop a question. So whilst we wait for other questions to arrive, we're going to do what we call a snapshot round. So these are non-photographic questions, just to kind of get into your headspace and kind of to discover a little bit more about you. So, number one, if you could have any superpower, what would it be?
Teleportation, for sure. I hate driving. I wish I could just teleport to, like, I don't know, Italy, could do a quick little holiday, be back. That would be ideal, for sure.
All right. So if you want Italian lunch, you just go directly to Italy.
I can imagine how great that would be.
Just grab something off the plate and get back to your
There's
lounge.
no petty prices then. Like I can just, I'm there.
Absolutely. I like that one. All right. So next one. If you were a wrestler, what would your entrance theme song be?
The Imperial March from Star Wars.
Oh, nice. That'd be a good one. Yeah, I can imagine that already. Imperial March sounding. Here comes Siobhan.
Yeah.
Siobhan with a metal chair. All right. So, what is your favorite magical or mythological animal?
It's going to sound cheesy, but I am kind of a cheesy person. A phoenix, rise from the ashes.
That's a good one. So it's probably the red hair as well. Phoenix connotation there.
Exactly, for sure.
Good. And what's your go-to movie marathon?
So it kind of relates to the past two questions. So if it's cold and rainy, definitely Harry Potter, for sure. And any other day of the year, Star Wars. So
good one. All right. So with those snapshots out of the way, let's see if we got any questions. So far, unfortunately, none. So if you're still watching, we have a whole bunch of people watching. So if you have anything to ask still, please do so. All right, creatives enjoy to be behind the camera instead of in front of the camera. Do you shoot yourself as well, or shy like for most of us? Good question.
So I did modeling when I was like an early teenager, and I wouldn't say I'm like confident in front of the camera, but still a bit shy. But I really love self-portraiture, you know, the advanced selfie as they call it. I think that's a really fun, creative way to express yourself as well. So I try to do one annual self-portrait a year, and I did one recently, and I had these very cool gloves from, I think they're from the 60s or the 50s. They were my Omar's. So I based the whole shoot around that, and I had this gorgeous black gown and put my hair up like I was straight out of the, no, it was the 20s, I think. 20s or 30s, 1920s. I don't know. But anyway, it looked so cool and I loved that. So yeah, I think it's a very personal thing if you're doing self-portraiture. But in terms of like other photographers shooting me, then I get awkward. So that's why I have a lot of respect for my clients. You know, it's not easy saying like, oh, I'm going to go for a photo shoot and go sit in front of some stranger's camera. It's a very vulnerable, you're in a very vulnerable position, and it will either make or break you, quite frankly. So
no, a couple of good points. So do you think it's advisable for photographers to get in front of the lens every now and then to kind of get it from a, you know, the entire thing from a different point of view?
Absolutely. There's one photographer I've been eyeing out to book a shoot with. So I think it's so important to just see the experience from your client's eyes. And I think it also just opens some doors for you to see, you know, where you can maybe change your experience that you are providing people. Maybe you see like, oh, this photographer did, I don't know, whatever, played music during the shoot. I felt so comfortable while they were doing that, or the way that they spoke to me, or whatever.
Provided snacks.
Oh, yes.
Snacks, yes. I hear that very often.
I would eat the snacks though, all of them, like all my clients here. So, but yeah, no, I definitely think it's something that we should do, and I also think it will help you if you struggle with posing. It's going to help you learn how to pose as well.
That's very good points. Okay, so see no other questions in here. So I think we're going to close off. So it's a good hour and 5 minutes. So we made it.
Awesome.
All right. So if there's anything.
Oh, my internet has gone weird. Or is it your internet?
Probably my internet. What's your playlist
You
like?
sound like a robot.
Okay, it's going to correct in a couple of minutes. So hopefully.
There we go. I can hear you.
All right, better. What's your playlist like, and when you edit, and your alcohol intake?
So my playlist is usually early 2000s, mid 2000s music for sure. Love the Britney Spears, all of that. That's a vibe. Or I've got Netflix on my other monitor, or YouTube or something like that. So it just depends. Alcohol intake. I don't actually like to drink and edit, because then the next day I look and I'm like, why did I do that?
Exactly, yes. I remember particular incidents where that happened. And the next morning it was, who edited this? Somebody else came in here and edited my photos. So no.
If it's like a personal shoot, then I'll, sometimes I'll have like a glass of wine, but other than that, no. It's more a cup of coffee or my big bottle of water. That's pretty much.
Yeah, from my end, my fiance likes to do Netflix as well. So on the second monitor here, it's a Netflix show. What I do is I do the movie themes. So Star Wars, Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, etc., etc. Getting into Game of Thrones again as well, House of the Dragon, that music pumping into these earphones.
Disappointment.
I know, but we'll see.
Okay, I had a marathon. It was end of last year. And then when I got to the final season, I was like, I'm about to be so disappointed. But anyway, onward.
Well, we'll see with House of the Dragon this time around. I don't know what's going to happen, but I guess it depends on how they're going to execute it.
Awesome.
All right. So I think that's it from our side. So if you want to follow Siobhan, so the social links are in the comments. So both Instagram and Facebook ready for you to click on and to follow. And so if you want to see more of her work, keep in touch, etc. Please do follow Siobhan. So from my side, I think that's going to be it. So thank you so much for joining us. It's been a pleasant interview.
Thank you for
hours just went quickly just like that, and it's been an absolute pleasure.
So, I was so nervous.
So as I said at the start, you get your first sentence out of the way, then it's an hour gone.
For sure. And I ramble, so I'm sorry if I rambled too much.
No, not at all. But we encourage it from our end.
Thank you so much, Conrad.
Yes. It's a big pleasure. So from my end, hope it's a pleasant night further, and to all of our audiences as well. Hope it's a pleasant night. Not too much load shedding still to be scheduled. So so have a pleasant night further. Good night, and that's it from us. Cheerios. Bye-bye. Ending broadcast.